Hello CFA candidates. So this message is directed towards candidates that are writing their exam in May, so not much time left. And what I want to do in this message is I want to address all the inquiries that I've received over the last week. Now, you know, our game plan at this point is to review our notes for a chapter and then do the questions that are assigned for that chapter. And let me just quickly take you through that again, if you don't mind. So first, let's go to our website. I'll show you where it all begins. So if you go to our portal, and I'm just going to pick Level 2 May, just as an example, and I'm just going to pick Reading 2.1, again, just as an example, but this concept applies for every chapter and every level. And so the first thing, what I would do is I would download the study guide, and I've done that right here. There it is. So there's 2.1 currency exchange rate. And what I would do is, first I would go through my notes. So if you have your own set of notes, use that. And the beauty with your own set of notes is you can take a guide that's 20 pages and you could shrink it down to things you need to retain, down to only maybe 4 or 5 pages. So in that 4 or 5 pages, you have everything you need to know for that particular chapter. And again, I believe that if you have a comprehensive set of notes, it includes everything that will be examinable. And that's why I keep emphasizing how important your notes are. So again, assuming these are my notes, I would just go through them very quickly. And before, I've been saying like maybe take 15 to 20 minutes to go through it. But here's the feedback I've gotten. Some of the chapters take an hour to go through. And here's my message to you. That's just fine. So as long as you're going from top to bottom in that chapter and just reviewing the material one more time, if it takes an hour, so be it. And again, the philosophy here is that these notes are your foundation. And if you have a solid foundation, then you will be better equipped to handle the exam questions. And here's the difference between notes and doing thousands and thousands of practice questions. These guides, if you look at right here, they actually already contain everything that is examinable. Whereas with questions, it's hit and miss, right? So everything that is going to be tested is in your notes. And that's why I say, even if it takes you an hour to get through your notes for a particular chapter, so be it. And there it is. So the argument again is that this may be your last opportunity to review your notes afterwards. So after about a week or 10 days, it's just going to be mocks and the questions that you may have flagged. And that's really what we want to do in the final couple of weeks, if you will. It's just going to be 95% of your time is just going to be doing practice questions, because you need to actually train your brain to go into question answering mode. So this is why this next week or 2 weeks is probably your last opportunity to review your notes and basically come face to face with everything that could be possibly tested. Now you may be saying, wow, this is going to take a long time. Like if there's a handful of chapters that take an hour to review and there's 50 or 60 chapters, isn't that going to take time? Of course it's going to take time. So that leads me to my second point. You gotta put in the hours. If you're serious about your career in this industry, here's where you're gonna show what you're made of. This final few weeks. There's an expression that says circumstances don't make a person, they reveal the person. So over these next few weeks, you're gonna see who you truly are, because you're gonna be pushed to your limit, because you got all this stuff to go through. The stakes are high. You've put in all this time. And at the same time, you know that this is a tough exam with a horrendous pass rate. So what are you made of? Are you willing to commit? And, if you just do basic math, if you just look at your clock, it's got numbers, and you say, how do I squeeze more hours out of this clock? Well, you know what? I'm a big advocate of getting up at 5 a.m. every morning. And, even if that results in putting an extra an hour and a half of studying a day, then you multiply that by number of days you do this, and that could add up to quite a bit of hours. And that's really what it's going to come down to now, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be attrition. Who could put in the most number of hours? The notes are there. I've handpicked the questions for you. But the just add water component is how many hours you can add to the mix. The more hours you add to the mix, the better the result is going to be. Now, the third thing I want to address is this principle we have of never ever getting stuck. And the expression I use is drop the topic before the topic drops you. So, for example, if you got tangled up in like one specific LOS or one specific question and you spent 2 hours on that, that is just so bad, because you could have used those 2 hours probably covering 20 or 30 other questions you could have done during that time. And that's how you got to think. Use the principle of return on time. So for every hour you invest, how much return or how many points are you accruing? So that's why, like, if you come across a topic area or a question that you know is just going to bog you down, that's when you say, this is a low return. I'm going to invest all this time for what? Just to get the same number of points? I could have gone doing another question that only took a fraction of the time. And that's how you got to think. You got to think like a portfolio manager or a trader. I've used this example before. There's thousands and thousands of stocks that are out there. So what do? You gotta invest in each one? No. You handpick the stocks that you think have the highest return potential. So if you come across a stock that you think requires a lot of capital and the return is mediocre, you say, forget it. I'm going to go somewhere else. It's the exact same mentality. But with portfolio managers, it's return on capital. But we're using return on time. It's the exact same principle. Now, as a pro, again, I go back and forth between you guys and portfolio managers. It's the same thing. As a pro, you have to learn to cut your losses. If you've ever spoken to these professional portfolio managers, they have no hesitation in cutting losses, and they won't even lose sleep over it because they know that's how the game is played. They know not every stock is going to be a winner, so they're not afraid to cut their losses and move on. You got to do the same. So when you're doing a question and you're looking at your watch and you're saying, holy cow, it's already been 10 minutes and I'm still not even halfway through, cut your losses. You got to move on. Now, whenever you move on from a question, you flag it. So let's just go to our practice question list. And again, I'm just using level 2 as an example and chapter 2.1 as specifically. So let's just, for example, say that question number 10 was giving me a hard time. I'll flag it. I'll flag it and I'll move on. And that's the thing. You got to just keep moving forward, like never getting stuck, right? So that's what cutting losses translates into. It says, I'm going to flag this, and after I'm done all the questions, I'll have a second look at this, or you can always email me your inquiry. And as you folks know, all these questions that are highlighted in red, I've already posted my own solutions for them. So there's absolutely no reason for you to spend a abnormal number of minutes on a specific topic area. You always got to have this mentality of, oh, I got to move on. I got to move on. I got to keep swimming or else I'm going to drown. And I'm going to use baseball analogy here, ladies and gentlemen, so please forgive me a bit. You win the game by getting enough base hits. You don't have to swing at every pitch. And that's what I mean here. So if I'm going through my practice question list, I don't have to get each one the first time I try it. That's not smart. That's not smart because you're eating up the clock, right? That's not how the game is played. You don't have to swing at every pitch. So if you get a pitch, in this case, like if I'm doing question 21, and again, I've used this example before. If I think I'm going to get bogged down, I won't swing. I'm not going to swing for that pitch. So what am I going to do? I'll just flag it. And I'll just keep moving forward. You don't have to swing at every pitch, right? That's not how you win the game. Okay, now we have one more study group left, and again, I find these extremely productive. And this is going to be the last one for the May cohort. And again, it's this Saturday at the Toronto Reference Library, 9 to 5. I'll be on the 3rd floor. So that's 8 solid hours, and it goes by so fast because you're in that you're in this environment or atmosphere that's very conducive to learning. And of course, I'm there if you have any questions. Now, the mock. I have been getting so much feedback about the mock, and basically here's what's happening. Majority of candidates are very anxious about May 6th. And here's what I want to tell you. That's a good thing. And here's why. Because now your anxiety is directed towards the mock rather than the actual exam. So here's the way I look at it. It's very natural for us to create anxiety, right, before an upcoming event. But it's sort of a finite thing. So here's my, I have this level of anxiety now. The question is, where is it going to be directed towards? If you come to the mock, all that anxiety will be directed towards the mock. And then between the mock and the exam, you're going to be okay. It's like getting an immunization shot. So the whole point of a flu immunization is you get the shot now, and that sort of prevents you from getting the flu later. That's what a mock is. It's an immunization shot for the actual CFA exam. So by taking all that anxiety you have and just directing it towards the mock, that is perfect, because then it means whatever anxiety you had, it all got drained towards the mock, and then you'll have a clear head going into the actual CFA exam. So the point, even if you think you're not ready for the mock, you should still attend the simulation. You got to go through the motions, i.e. you got to wake up that day, you got to commute, you're going to be in a strange location, and you're going to be following instructions. You need to do that during the mock simulation and not the actual exam day. So that's all for now, ladies and gentlemen, but I will be sending briefs more frequently now that we're getting closer to the exam. See you soon.